When Ethan Cole first walked into the Grand Meridian Hotel, nobody noticed him. He preferred it that way. He wore a simple navy sweater, faded jeans, and sneakers that had seen better days. His hair was slightly messy, his posture relaxed but observant. To most people in the polished marble lobby, he looked like a delivery driver who had taken a wrong turn. The Grand Meridian was the kind of place where chandeliers sparkled like frozen fireworks, and the air smelled faintly of fresh lilies and polished wood. People here moved with confidence. Staff members wore crisp uniforms and flawless smiles. Ethan stepped up to the front desk. "Yes," the receptionist asked, her smile professional but brief. "I'd like to book the Royal Horizon suite for tonight," Ethan said calmly. There was a slight pause. "The Royal Horizon?" she repeated, glancing at his shoes before returning to her screen. "That suite is usually reserved in advance." "I understand," Ethan replied. "Is it available?" She typed quickly, eyebrows lifting just slightly. "It is available," she admitted. "It's our most premium suite." "That's fine." She hesitated for a moment before continuing. "May I have your ID and payment method?" Ethan handed over his card. Her expression changed almost instantly. The card was metal. Black? Minimalist. Very few people carried one like that. She straightened her posture. "Of course, Mr. Cole. Welcome to the Grand Meridian." The shift was subtle, but Ethan noticed. He always noticed. The elevator ride to the top floor was silent except for soft instrumental music. When the doors opened, the hallway felt like a private gallery. The Royal Horizon suite overlooked the entire city skyline. Floor-to-ceiling windows reflected golden sunlight across polished stone floors. It was beautiful, but Ethan didn't come for the view. He placed his small duffel bag on the couch and walked slowly through the suite, observing every detail. 5 years earlier, he had stood in this same lobby, wearing a very different uniform. Back then, he had been part of the cleaning staff. He remembered long shifts. Early mornings, quietly entering rooms long after guests had left, making beds that cost more per night than he earned in a week. He remembered overhearing conversations about success, investments, opportunities. And he remembered promising himself something simple. "One day, I will come back through the front door." Not to prove anyone wrong, but to prove something to himself. Ethan had grown up in a small town where ambition felt like a rumor. His father worked at a hardware store. His mother taught music at the local elementary school. They didn't have much, but they had consistency. What they didn't have was access. When Ethan showed interest in technology as a teenager, there were no advanced programs, no mentors. Just an old second-hand laptop his uncle had repaired 3 times already. He taught himself to code using free online resources. He stayed up late watching tutorials. He made mistakes. Lots of them. But he kept building. Small apps, simple websites, projects that barely worked at first. After high school, instead of attending an expensive university, Ethan chose something different. He worked during the day and learned at night. That's how he ended up at the Grand Meridian. Cleaning rooms funded his dreams. He never complained. Every room he cleaned was a lesson. He observed how business leaders spoke, how confident people carried themselves, how negotiations sounded over speakerphone. He wasn't just working. He was studying. One evening, during his shift, Ethan found a leather notebook left behind in a suite. Inside were handwritten notes about a tech startup idea, market strategies, customer engagement models. Ethan didn't read it to invade privacy. He read it to learn structure. The guest returned for the notebook later that night. A man in his late 40s with calm eyes and a thoughtful expression. "You found this?" the man asked. "Sir," Ethan said. The man looked at him carefully. You didn't read it, did you? Ethan hesitated. Honesty felt risky. I read enough to understand it was important, he admitted. Instead of anger, the man smiled slightly. What did you think of the business model? Ethan blinked. It's strong, he said carefully, but the user onboarding section might lose people. It feels complicated. The man's eyebrows lifted. What would you change? That conversation lasted 20 minutes. It changed Ethan's life. There. The guest turned out to be Marcus Vale, a tech entrepreneur visiting for a conference. Before leaving, Marcus handed Ethan a business card. Email me, he said. Let's see if you're serious. Ethan emailed him that night. Mentorship doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's just someone answering your questions consistently. Marcus didn't hand Ethan money. He handed him direction. Over the next 3 years, Ethan built a software tool designed to help small local businesses manage appointments and payments without expensive platforms. Simple, affordable, accessible. He tested with neighborhood barbershops and cafes. He fixed bugs, improved design, simplified features. Slowly, adoption grew. Investors eventually noticed. And when they did, they didn't see the former hotel cleaner. They saw data, traction, vision, BI. By the time Ethan turned 28, his company had expanded nationwide. He moved his parents into a comfortable home. He never stopped learning, and he never forgot the lobby. Back in the Royal Horizon suite, Ethan stood by the window watching the city lights flicker on. There was a knock at the door. Room service, a voice said politely. Ethan opened the door. It was a young employee, probably no older than 22. Nervous smile. Slightly oversized uniform. Good evening, sir, the employee said. Complimentary refreshments. Ethan stepped aside. What's your name? He asked. Liam. How long have you worked here, Liam? Oh, about 6 months. Do you like it? Liam hesitated. It's good. Ethan recognized that pause. What do you really want to do? Ethan asked gently. Liam looked surprised. I want to start my own design studio someday. Then start building it now, Ethan said. Even if it's small. Liam blinked. How? Learn daily. Build quietly. Stay consistent. It sounded simple. Because it was. Consistency isn't glamorous. It's powerful. The next morning, Ethan requested a meeting with the hotel's general manager. The receptionist from the previous day greeted him differently now. Warmer. More attentive. He smiled politely. In the manager's office, Ethan introduced himself fully. I used to work here, he said. 5 years ago? The manager looked confused. I was part of the cleaning team. Recognition flickered faintly. Ethan continued. This place taught me discipline, observation, humility. Would like to give back. The manager leaned forward. Ethan explained his proposal. A yearly scholarship fund for hotel employees who wanted to pursue education or start small businesses. No publicity stunt. No branding campaign. Just opportunity. The manager was speechless. Why us? He finally asked. Ethan smiled softly. Because someone once took 20 minutes to ask me what I thought. News of the scholarship spread quietly through the staff. Applications poured in. Liam applied. So did housekeeping supervisors, front desk clerks, kitchen assistants. Ethan personally reviewed each one. He didn't choose based on perfection. He chose based on commitment, on effort, on spark. 2. When the first group of recipients was announced, there were tears in the staff lounge. Not because of money alone, but because someone had seen them. Months later, Ethan returned to the Grand Meridian again. This time, not as a guest. As a speaker for the annual Employee Appreciation event. He stood in the ballroom where he once vacuumed carpets late at night. The chandelier lights reflected softly as staff members filled the room. He spoke simply. Fate. I didn't succeed because I was the smartest person in the room, he said. I succeeded because I stayed in the room. Silence. Attention. View. Feel invisible right now? Keep building anyway. The world doesn't always notice effort immediately. But effort compounds. Applause filled the space. Not loud, but meaningful. Years passed. The scholarship program expanded to other hotels. Liam eventually opened his design studio. A former housekeeper completed a nursing degree. A receptionist launched a small online boutique. Ethan never asked for recognition. He asked for progress. Bore. One evening, long after the event ended, Ethan walked through the hotel lobby again. No one stared at his shoes this time. But even if they had, it wouldn't matter. Because confidence isn't about how others see you. It's about knowing who you are when no one is watching. He paused near the entrance. The same marble floors. The same scent of lilies. Different perspective. He remembered the promise he made years ago. One day, I will come back through the front door hit. But more importantly, Hit opened it for others. Z stepped outside into the cool night air, city lights stretching endlessly ahead. Ethan realized something powerful. Success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving your younger self right. And that is a victory no one can take away. A few weeks after the Employee Appreciation event, Ethan began receiving messages from hotel staff he had never met. Some were short and simple, thanking him for the scholarship program. Others were long and deeply personal, describing dreams that had been paused for years because life demanded stability instead of risk. Ethan read every message carefully. He didn't respond with motivational quotes or grand promises. He responded with practical advice. Small steps. Online courses. Budget planning. Time management. He believed encouragement was important, but direction was essential. Inspiration without structure fades quickly. He had it. One evening, he received a handwritten letter delivered to his office. It was from an older housekeeper named Rosa, who had worked at the Grand Meridian for nearly 2 decades. She wrote that she had always wanted to open a small bakery, but never believed it was realistic. The scholarship gave her enough confidence to enroll in weekend culinary classes. At the bottom of the letter, she included a simple sentence. For the first time in years, I feel like I am building something that belongs to me. Ethan folded the letter slowly and placed it in his desk drawer. He had contracts worth millions in the same office, but that letter felt heavier than any of them. Z's company continued to grow. Investors encouraged Ethan to focus entirely on expansion. There were opportunities overseas, partnerships with large corporations, and constant invitations to high-profile conferences. He attended some, but he remained selective. He understood how easy it was to become consumed by scale. Growth was exciting, but impact required intention. During one board meeting, a partner suggested cutting funding for the scholarship program to redirect resources into marketing. The room fell quiet as everyone looked at Ethan. He shook his head gently. The scholarship stays, he said calmly. It's not a marketing strategy. It's part of who we are. There was no argument after that. Despite his success, Ethan kept certain routines unchanged. He still woke up early. He still reviewed code updates personally when possible. He still visited small businesses that used his software to understand their daily challenges. He believed leadership should remain connected to reality. On one visit to a family-owned cafe that had recently adopted his system. The The owner told him that the software had reduced scheduling mistakes and helped her spend more time with her children. It was a simple outcome, but Ethan recognized its significance. Efficiency isn't just about numbers, it's about freedom. Meanwhile, the Grand Meridian began to change in subtle ways. The management introduced internal workshops for staff members interested in developing new skills. Employees were encouraged to propose improvement ideas rather than simply follow procedures. The culture shifted from silent routine to collaborative growth. When Ethan visited one afternoon, he noticed a small bulletin board near the staff entrance titled Future Plans. Notes were pinned across it. Some were ambitious, some were modest, but each one represented momentum. Ethan stood in front of that board longer than he expected, quietly reading the handwritten dreams of people who once might have kept those thoughts to themselves. Liam's design studio officially opened a year later. The space was modest but filled with natural light and carefully chosen artwork. He invited Ethan to the opening. As guests mingled and admired the branding projects displayed along the walls, Liam pulled Ethan aside. "I almost didn't apply for the scholarship," he admitted. "I thought other people were more qualified." Ethan smiled softly. "Most people think that," he replied. "That's why action matters more than confidence." Liam nodded, understanding that confidence often arrives after the first step, not before it. At home, Ethan's parents followed his journey with quiet pride. Hers. His father still worked at the hardware store, not because he had to, but because he enjoyed the routine and community. His mother continued teaching music. They never allowed Ethan to drift too far from humility. During Sunday dinners, conversations rarely centered on business. Instead, they spoke about neighbors, local events, and family memories. Those evenings grounded him. Success can expand your world quickly, but family keeps it balanced. One afternoon, while walking through a neighborhood park, Ethan noticed a group of teenagers gathered around a bench, debating something animatedly. He recognized the tone immediately. Ideas. Ambition. Uncertainty. He approached them casually and discovered they were discussing a mobile app concept, but had no idea how to begin. Ethan sat with them for nearly an hour, breaking down the process into manageable pieces. Research first. Simple prototype next. Feedback after that. As he left, one of the teenagers called out, "Why are you helping us?" Ethan paused and considered the question carefully. "Because someone once helped me," he answered simply. Over time, Ethan realized that mentorship didn't require formal programs or structured sessions. Sometimes it was spontaneous conversations, shared experiences, or simple reassurance that learning was possible without perfection. He began hosting small quarterly gatherings at his office for aspiring entrepreneurs from various backgrounds. No cameras, no media coverage, just discussion. Participants shared challenges openly. They exchanged resources and accountability. Ethan didn't dominate the conversations. He facilitated them. He believed community could multiply effort in ways individual ambition never could. Years passed, and the Royal Horizon Suite remained one of the hotel's most requested rooms. Yet Ethan rarely stayed there anymore. The symbolism had served its purpose. Instead, he preferred smaller spaces when visiting. Simpler rooms felt more aligned with his mindset. On one particular visit, he ran into Marcus Vale in the lobby. They hadn't seen each other in some time. Marcus studied him with a proud expression. "You built something meaningful," Marcus said. Ethan smiled. "Joe, you asked me one question that changed everything," he replied. Marcus shook his head. "No. You were ready for the question." As they spoke, Ethan understood something clearly. Opportunity often appears ordinary. It doesn't arrive with dramatic music or grand announcements. It comes disguised as a conversation, a suggestion, a small risk. Preparation determines whether you recognize it. That realization strengthened his commitment to preparation over recognition. The scholarship program eventually extended beyond hospitality. Partnerships formed with small retail businesses, local service providers, and community centers. Each organization adapted the framework to fit their staff's needs. The core principle remained unchanged. Visibility creates possibility. When people feel seen, they invest more in themselves. When they invest more in themselves, environments improve naturally. One late evening, after reviewing applications for the upcoming scholarship cycle, Ethan sat alone in his office. The city skyline shimmered outside his window. He thought about the younger version of himself, cleaning hotel rooms, absorbing conversations quietly while imagining a different future. That younger version had no guarantees, no roadmap, just determination and patience. Ethan realized that success had not erased uncertainty. It had simply taught him how to navigate it calmly. He turned off the lights and stepped outside into the cool air. The streets were peaceful, illuminated by soft street lamps. As he walked toward his car, he felt neither rushed nor pressured. There were still goals ahead. Expansions to plan. Innovations to explore. But urgency no longer defined him. Purpose did. The world continued moving at its usual pace. Hotels welcomed guests. Employees finished shifts. Students worked on projects late into the night. Somewhere, someone stood at the beginning of a dream, unsure whether it was realistic. Ethan understood that uncertainty intimately. He also understood that consistency transforms doubt into direction. When he finally reached home, he paused for a moment before going inside. Not out of hesitation, but gratitude. The journey, from cleaning floors to building platforms, had not been dramatic every day. Most days were ordinary, repetitive, quiet. And that was the point. Extraordinary outcomes often grow from ordinary routines, repeated faithfully. He opened the door, stepped inside, and placed his keys on the table. The night was calm. The future was open. Somewhere in the city, another person was deciding whether to keep going. Ethan hoped they would.